Hi, I'm the internet's Daniel Gastelum, and the question, what isn't bizarre magic, is a loaded one. That's the kind of question that could devolve very quickly into gatekeeping and name calling and insults, or something even worse. It could end up being classist and ableist. So I'm going to do my best to avoid all of that, and fuck it. Let's break it down into the more simple, what isn't bizarre magic, and the more complex, what isn't bizarre magic. Also, someone said I swore too much in the last video, so fuck, 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 fuck. Number one, it's an aesthetic issue. There are a lot of people who associate bizarre magic with old props and antiques and, I don't know, a candlestick that'll predict the exact moment when you'll die. And that sets a very dangerous precedent because, well, I don't think just having that aesthetic inherently makes it bizarre. And that's not a knock at antiques and expensive props. I mean, fucking Gemini Artifacts, Lebanon Circle, they make some fucking beautiful pieces of art. What I have a problem with is this idea of, well, it's old stuff, so if I pair it with a base script, it's automatically bizarre magic. We'll get into this on Monday with the videos on the power of aesthetic, but I want to end the first point by saying this. Stylistically, it's very easy to fall into a trap of wanting to appeal to old ghost stories and vast haunted history, but I think bizarre has the potential to be a lot more than that. I don't think bizarre aesthetic should be a monolith, and I think it's really dangerous to associate all of bizarre with one set aesthetic, which seems to be something people outside the bubble and possibly inside the bubble fall into, and I think we can do better. Let's do a complete 180 with point number two. I used to hang out at this house on Orange and Franklin in Hollywood, and a bunch of magicians would be there. And unfortunately, once October rolled around, they'd whip out their Halloween material, and it was just their normal material with the word ghost thrown in. You could see the problem with that, right? Like, I'm gonna go into it more, but you could see the problem with that. You could see the. Oh my god, that's my face? Yeah, it's scarier than any of the shit I saw in the basement. I'm not saying we shouldn't take other principles from other parts of magic and apply it to our bizarre magic. What I'm saying is that it takes a lot more effort to tell a ghost story than it is to say, unwrap the Dead Sea Scrolls and deal my grandfather's cursed tarot cards into four equal piles. If you want to do bizarre magic, great. If you want to do one or two spooky tricks for Halloween, also great. But if you are going to do either, I implore you, please try and go the extra mile and spend some time writing something genuine and original and at least has some semblance of effort. All right, I'm going to do point number three, and then I'm going to take a short break, but here it is. You know who's great? Rob Zabrecki. You know who's not great? Me, trying to be Rob Zabrecki. And the reasons are apparent. First of all, this may shock you, I am not Rob Zabrecki. And another reason is that Rob has spent years and years trial and error learning how to develop his character and mastering his craft. And I don't have that information. So whether you're doing Rob Zabrecki or Eugene Berger or Max Maven, the last point I want to make that's easy is that acting creepy or spooky is not enough. If you're taking what I said yesterday to heart, you know that we're supposed to prioritize the story when it comes to bizarre magic. Well, the magician is a character in that story, and if there's not the proper motivation, there's not the proper characterization, and if it just seems like a hollow cutout, it's going to negatively affect the story. Trust me, the audience is a lot smarter than we give them credit for. They can tell really quickly when we were phoning it in. And I think They deserve a character that is your own, and so do you. Alright, I got some coffee in me, so now that we've covered the simple aspects of what isn't bizarre magic, let's get into the stuff that takes more nuance. The first one involves, well, venue, actually. There's a lot of really solid advice when it comes to booking a venue for bizarre magic. And a lot of it comes down to find a historical site with history and find something that will make for a good story. But I wouldn't use the venue as a crutch, actually. It's important and it should be taken into consideration. But like all stories, the characters are the more interesting part. Here are some questions I would ask myself when working with a historical venue. What was the creation process like? Who came up with this idea for the venue to stand? And who are the key players in that creation? What was opening day like? I mean, fuck, that's got to be a whole mine of characterization right there. Who made that space what it was? Was it the owners, the employees, the caretakers, the performers, the guests? Was it someone of power who gave it their blessing? And how did those people impact the space as it changed through the years? When it comes to tragic events at that venue, how did the loss and grief impact everyone involved and everyone around as collateral damage? The venue itself is also a character in the story, and I'm sorry if I implied that it was less important than the human elements. Treat the venue like it's someone's life story. Have characters outside of that venue impact it, and have the venue respond in kind to those interactions. When you're a kid, your parents kind of influence a majority of the decisions in your life, and that's the creation process. When you're a teenager and you're starting to discover who you are, that's opening day. You are taking the first steps of who you're going to be for the rest of your life. Adulthood is when you really hit your stride. It's when you realize that the people in your life impact you in certain ways, and it's important to remember who is positive and who is negative, and how every decision they make and every decision you make changes the story. And like every life story, there will be grief, there will be hard times, and there will be loss. Take that into the story and have that be a driving force forward. Embrace the change. Embrace the emotions, the positive and the negative, and remember that in time we all fall apart. And last, I would say that a venue is often like a ghost. It is history, it is a story, it is a memory that refuses to die. And some memories last a few lifetimes extra. Alright, point number 2 that takes more nuance involves motivation. Your motivation as the bizarre performer. We'll get into this later into the month, but a TLDR version of this is, why do you know all this stuff? Like, is it believable that you know all this stuff about demonology and haunted Victorian dolls and cursed artifacts, and you just have that shit around your house and you have easy access to it? Like, why? Saying it's your job is not enough. And that is something to really consider when getting into bizarre. One of the most important aspects of telling a good story is the idea of suspension of disbelief. People are willing to go along with a lot of crazy shit if they, one, think the story is set up properly, two, the conflict is believable or interesting, or can make us attached to the characters, and three, if the concepts involved bring something new to the table. One of the fastest ways to assist with suspension of disbelief is to make your characters have clear motivations and goals, and hell, even like 3 sentences that encompass their philosophy and how they see themselves in the world. After spending a majority of my life as a selfish, self-serving asshole, I had a religious experience that changed exactly how I saw my place in the cosmos. Ever since, I have dedicated my life to understanding how magic and magic with a K correspond with each other, And the answer is storytelling. Through serious study, adventures, and meeting new, wonderful people, I attempt to find my place in the universe and help those in need through all things bizarre. Were those run on sentences? Absolutely. I'm very sorry to all my English teachers. But the point still stands. 3 sentences covered a ton about me as a person, a character, a performer, and what I have to bring to the table. It covered my background, it covered my mission and core philosophy, it covered how I plan to achieve meeting the expectations of that mission and philosophy, and also what I can give you when you see me perform. Find those 3 sentences about you as a bizarre performer and make it 3 sentences. Every single word counts. And when you are able to do that, I honestly think it'll be a lot more believable that you have all of this ancient knowledge, or at least believable in a theatrical sense. Alright, the last point I want to make for today that requires nuance involves outcome. What is your desired outcome when you perform bizarre magic? I'm not talking about entertaining people, I'm not talking about putting on a good show, and I'm definitely not talking about getting paid. What I'm talking about is this. When they are done with your show or performance and they get into the car, what do you want them to ponder on their way home? Do you want it to be about how scary the engagement was? Do you want it to be about the bigger questions that you proposed? Do you want it to be about how fucking rad everything looked? Do you want it to be about, well, the history or the emotional aspects or, I don't know, just tech, honestly? The answer is going to be different for every performer, and it's going to be different for every performance, and it'll be different for every single crowd. But these are things you need to consider and think long and hard on it. Don't half-ass it. If you take one thing away from today, have this be a North Star when you analyze and think deeply about your place in bizarre. All right, that was a whole lot on a single day. I'm gonna shoot a really short video tomorrow on who are bizarre magicians and bizarre adjacent magicians that you should know. Thanks.